Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well, as always. Okay. Um, you ready to do some art? I miss you for a little while, but in general, hoping everybody's excited. You got your watercolors, you got your brushes, paper, and water. We're gonna keep it simple today. Yes, you could have a pencil around. You never know, but we're not gonna use it today, I believe. My understanding. So the most important thing is the colors, the brush, obviously, the paper, and the water because we're doing watercolors. So let's get started. As the title says, we're just exploring watercolor. We'll go over some of the things we have discussed, but my goal here at the end of and I'll make sure as the camera is trying to focus when my hand is on the shot that I'm always focused. Be patient with me if for a little while the camera takes a little longer, to focus from here to here, a few seconds. But we'll make sure that I have the camera set up like this so I could like show you close-ups. Um, yeah. So at the end in this sheet of paper, which is a normal kind of like 8.5, I mean definitely 11, but probably less, a little less than um sorry, 8.5 and a little more than 11. Um, that's what makes it a little square. We'll have a bunch of little things because we're exploring, but my goal is that you can see these things that we're gonna paint, and you can see that you can actually recreate them individually. So if we end up with, I don't know, 10 things, we could actually take each one of those things and make a painting in another sheet of paper in the future. Now that we know how to do it, and that could be a card, it could be a painting for itself, but it'd be a nice exercise to see different things as we go along and explore. Okay. So I'm gonna start with something very simple, and it's a practice that I really keep trying to drill, and it's the understanding of, besides understanding as an artist of watercolor, that you need to be aware of how much, the type of brush you're having, how much water that brush can carry, um, how much pigment, and then when you pick your pigment with your water, you're aware each time the ratio, mentally. You don't have to know perfectly, but you know that it's carrying a lot more pigment. You could verify by painting, and then, oh no, I want it a little more lighter. Then you pick more water, or you clean your brush, um, that type of thing. Just always be aware of what your brush is holding, um, and rather than just grabbing pigment and painting. No, we want a little more control. So I'm gonna make a flower. We're gonna start with making a flower, just a simple flower, and you'll see how when I do the petals of the flower, I purposely um, work around to to have different amounts of pigment in each petal. And we do that by, for example, if I put down the color, usually that first time you put it down, that's going to carry a lot of pigment. And the water with the pigment, when it make contact, it wants to right away transfer itself because the paper is absorbent. So at the moment it touches, it's just like magic. It just absorbs it. So right there, that first one carries a lot of water and a lot of pigment. So you could maybe after that you don't have to go back and grab more. You just keep making more petals because you're aware that you have enough um, pigment. We'll see. So let's maybe do red. So when you have the red here, you know this is very rich because this is where the pigment is, where you're grabbing the pigment. So I set it down here on the side, and I have a little more control. You see? And I'm gonna set this one up. And I'm going from thicker to thinner, kind of like a droplet. And that's one. This is two. And if you notice, I'm not doing them right next to each. I'm not doing the one that goes here or here. I'm spreading them out to make them different from each other. Now I could probably choose to bring more pigment for this next one. I don't know. You see how it's richer? It's probably too rich. You see how I was aware of that type of situation? Because this is wet, I could spread this out, you know, because these petals are still wet, we can spread them out. Now I'm putting the ones in between. This is very dry, so I need a little more water. But you see how each petal is different? Just because um, I'm aware that my brush is carrying maybe more, a little less pigment this time, but more than the time before, or that type of understanding. You have to have it. So all these petals are gonna be each one different from each other. There's some lighter and some darker. You see that? That is now. So compare that to this, which is what we're trying to avoid, where all of them are the same. Look how they all kind of look the same. You see how this in here looks all the same? So we don't want that. We don't want the one that the red is entirely the same. We want this one where everything kind of varies, and now I can go in here in the middle and get a little richer. Okay. Clean the brush, and with water you could always spread things, anything. You could spread it out and make it softer. You know. Okay. I know. There you go. You see the difference? We're just playing around, but we want this. We don't want to paint things like this. We want to paint like this. To get the effects of watercolor is what I mean. Okay. Obviously, if you want to make something more graphically or illustrate or just fill in color, then you do that and you control that it's all the same red. But you get the idea. So on that note, let's now spend the time doing different things. Like I said, that if we choose to, we could be do individually and we can explore. Okay. So I'm going to up here show you what I just did again. Um, look how with, let's say, yellow. Try to keep your colors clean too here. That's why we mixed over here. But look how with yellow I can make a very rich yellow. You know, or I could add more water. The one that is a little lighter, tiny little bit lighter. Maybe that wasn't that lighter, but I clean my brush and I pick it up. Look, same yellow, but because we're adding different levels of water. See, I'm gonna put a few, and if there's two that look the same, watch. In one of them, I add a tiny little bit of orange, just a little bit. It's gotta be just a little bit. That has a lot of water. What I'm doing with my fingers, you could do with a tissue, is collecting the excess water that the brush has. But yeah, add a little bit of red maybe on one. Yellow and red makes orange, so you make your own orange rather than picking it up from the from the palette. Okay. So just with that same yellow, just because I add a little bit of orange here, there's already rich yellow here, maybe another yellow that doesn't have to be that powerful or rich, you know. But what I'm trying to again emphasize, just like with the flowers, you could have a ton of different um, tonalities or colors coming out of the same one. Sorry about that. Here we go. There you go. It's focused now. I'm talking about the yellows on the top. So on that note, some of you way back with me did the following. We did a painting. I know way back, some of us, but we're gonna do again. Not the same painting, but just the practice of. Look how I'm gonna wet, kind of like an oval. Not an oval, sorry, like the shape of like a lemon but the paper is getting wet, right? Okay, so now I take yellow now, and yellow is very light, and we spread it. And I say spread it because then you can easily decide if you want to leave it in one spot Sorry, some of the yellow. Look, I'm gonna grab more yellow and put more of it maybe at this end. You know, I'm doing the little tip a lemon has. You see how there's more yellow here? I could even put more yellow. Look, in some areas. Okay, doesn't have to be in everything. Just some areas. You see that? That's the beauty of watercolor. How it's yellow, but it's not yellow, the same yellow everywhere. We have to give it like a second. Sorry. There you go. So on that note, now I know that I could add maybe a little bit of orange. But we're gonna be gentle with our colors. That's the main message today, okay? So look how gentle I am with my orange. And again, it doesn't have to be everywhere. Just in that spot. And if I add a little green, because our lemon may be not entirely ripe, right? We could put some green too. Maybe a green here. And that's a lemon. Let's do a few leaves. I believe the lemon leaves are very round. Maybe bigger. Do another one that's hiding here. See? And with very dark green, I could make the line that goes in between. There you go. And define a little bit of the outline and make it pointy right here. With very much green. We could always emphasize some of the outline again while the paper is wet. That's the dividing line. Okay? So the key is to add a few colors that do relate. In this case it's yellow, orange, maybe green. Let's do another one. Clean my brush. Well, maybe this time we don't have to wet the paper that much. We'll just bring it with yellow. This is very white. You could always pick up with your finger or tissue some of the paint. And there we're gonna put the green. I'm gonna go with my green. You see? Maybe it's a few spots over here are green. See? Maybe a tiny little bit, tiny little bit more yellow here. Maybe a tiny little bit orange over at this end. I don't know. It could be anywhere. But we just created another lemon. And actually, I'm going to add a little bit of brown, sorry, on the stem here. I don't like it to be green, but I want it darker brown. So there we go. And on that note, I could do a leaf, or we can do a leaf. And it could be a leaf that's hiding behind this part of the lemon. Now I take my green, darker, remember? Since I know this is wet, I can make my line in the middle and a little bit of the outline. And maybe this area here that I have to soften out. When I say soften out or blending is you see how this was darker than the leaf? I grab a little extra water and I spread it here and it softened the transition. Okay? So this is what happened. We have a leaf, right? Created. Filled in with light green. See that? Then I go back here with darker green. And I made a line in the middle. This is what happened. And the line will basically will stay there a little bit even the leaf is wet. If it's too wet, the line will disappear. But it will more likely will stay. And then I did some outline maybe here, but not too much everywhere. I don't want to emphasize it too much, so I'll stop here. And the contrast of this outline is kind of strong. So then I went and wet my brush, took away some of the water. Now my brush is wet, and look, I got back in here and I soften with green. I just grab a little bit of green, I grab more green to soften that transition right there. You see the line is disappearing in the middle? That's because the leaf inside was very wet. So we'll have to wait for it to dry to go maybe and do it again. Look. and maybe the line will stay. So just be aware also of the surface of your paper. If it's too wet, whatever you put on top is gonna kind of vanish. Not vanish, dissipate. Okay, so I clean my brush. Now this time we're gonna do a circle in yellow, maybe here. Let's see how this works. Um, did you see I do the entire thing yellow, but then I um I grab water and distribute that yellow. So I know, and now I have a yellow circle. It all started with very pure yellow, but I added water and dissipated that. Okay. So having that, I'm gonna kind of with orange, a little bit of orange, just a little. Oop, I meant to say orange. We're gonna try to outline the circle. Okay. Okay, okay. Let's clean our brush and add a tiny little bit of green. This is just to diversify in some area here of the yellow. Just be careful not to touch the orange. But there you go. You see how it's yellow, but it has a little kind of. You don't see it much in the camera, but there's green here in the yellow. Okay. So now we go back to our orange, and just like a pizza, without touching edges, we're gonna do 4 kind of slices inside of it. So not too dark with the orange, very light, which means you gotta have light orange. We do slices. Oop, that has a lot of water in it. That kind of go in like that. You see, I'm not touching any of the edges. See, 1, 2, 3. Just watch me do mine first. And the fourth is going to be here. It slices, but they're inside and they're not touching any of the edges of anything. Okay. And now we're going to do 4 on the other side. 1, 2, 3. I'll fill them in a moment. And 4. Now I fill them inside. You see, this is me being aware of how much orange my brush still carries. Now I'll try to make it symmetric. And here you go. You could pause here and try to replicate that. We're not done. with the half orange. Okay, now I take my orange, and knowing that I have a little more orange than the rest, I could put a little extra orange in some of them. Not all of them, Maybe I'll make this one darker and this one only has this side. I don't know. So this is what I remember. We want to diversify the color. See how it gets a little more interested because now there's different oranges. I mean, color, tonalities. That's because of the amount of water. So I could get a little darker towards the center, like this area here in all of them. Okay. Now, same thing. I clean my brush, but we're gonna do with yellow just half of it, just half of the circle, just half a circle, not the entire circle. You see, that's a lot of yellow. Sorry, the camera is not capturing that, but you see how that's a lot of yellow. So I'm aware that's a lot of yellow. So then I clean my brush, and now I use just water to spread that yellow that you see. See, and kind of bring it in. But we'll do half a slice. And now I take my orange, not do the straight line, I just do the curve. Outline, sorry, of the curve. Not this straight line here. And now I fill in 4 squares. So slices. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, go back to my orange and spread around different levels of tonality. And maybe it is here that it gets richer at this tip. The color is a little more orange, more rich. You could suggest this line here, maybe, but that's a little half orange. Um, all right, I'm gonna do the yellow again, but this time instead of orange, we'll use green. Let's see what happens. So we do the yellow circle. It's a lot of yellow, so I clean my brush and now I just add water to use that amount of yellow to make my circle. So make a circle. You see how I haven't gone back to get more yellow? Because I realize this is enough for what I want. you know. So, okay, so now I take my green. This is our circle that's yellow. And now we take our green and try to, well, not try to, we will outline the circle in green. And it's okay if in some areas it's darker, the green. Like right now, I purposely, you see, made this maybe darker here. All right. So now I take my green, not too dark, meaning not, when I say dark, I mean not too rich in the pigment. And when I do my four, it's really 8 slices, but let's do four first. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and fill them in. Give them that nice little shape. And then 4 down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take my green and I'm going to put green in some areas and some of them to kind of diversify, just like we did with this orange. See how we diversify? While here they all look kind of like the same. By adding more green in some spots, it will get a little tiny bit more interesting. Okay, you'll see what I mean. There you go. Maybe in the back over here, you know. And maybe all of them have like a little richness in the center. Sorry, like going towards the center out. But there it is. We could even probably go a little more darker in some spots. You get the idea. Now you see what happens when it dries. Look at this lemon. That whole part kind of dried up and it looks like that now. See that center part? That's okay. I could add more water and add maybe something else in there, but it gets a little more interesting. So we have 8 slices and they're not touching anything. You know, they're very individualized. If they touch each other, then you lose that effect. Okay? And here's half, sorry, of orange or something, but you get the idea. We could define this a little more. Let's see. These lemons, we could define them with yellow maybe a little more. They don't seem to be outlined. And we have to do these stems. What's going on? Why they're so light? There we go. Okay. You get what I'm trying to do. And look at nature, observe. I'm gonna put it like this so you can see everything we've done, but we're working like this. Actually, this is how we were working. So we're gonna feel more areas here. But my point again, I'm gonna emphasize it. I should leave the camera for now like this, so you can see everything we've been working on. Is that even though the paper is getting full of all these little things, you can actually um, choose to make a card or a painting based on these things. You could add more, or you could just do the lemon, a few lemons, 4 or 5 lemons with some slices. Um, I'm gonna do one behind this one. So watch. I'm gonna put yellow again. Clean my brush because that's a lot of yellow. Get the water, spread it. All right, you see that? There's another half there. Let's take our green. Make our outline. I wouldn't want to touch that leaf, but it's gonna probably almost have to. Here we go, you see? And now if you make your your uh, slices, your little triangles, you gotta think of them filling in the space that this one is covering. So for example, from the center, maybe there's one right here, you know, maybe there's one right here, one right here, and one right here. There's one right here, one right here. And now we add more green to diversify. Just like this one is diversified, the tonalities of the green, this one needs to have different um, greens or levels. See? I'm gonna add a little more green into this lemon here. Sorry, very just a little bit. There you go. Okay. And when you do a leaf, there's that central vein here going in the middle, but you could do a few more if you wish to emphasize some of them. You don't have to emphasize all of them. But now that this is dry, you see, we could draw lines and they'll stay there. They more likely will stay there. Lines coming out. See that leaf? And then there's the little stem. A good practice will be doing like just like we play with all these colors, you could do like we did up here, a chart of all the possibilities, you know? For example, one of yellow, I'm making them bigger so you can see them. One somewhere else of lighter yellow. This has a little bit of green. Maybe one of green. Maybe one of yellow. That has over here, down here, a little bit of orange. You know, then orange, just orange that's lighter. One thing is orange that is watered down, and one thing is orange with yellow. There's two different. You see that? Maybe another one has a light, tiny little bit of more um, pure green. see yellow and green. This is more a little cool. Still yellow, but you can see the green in it. But you get my point of what I'm trying to say. This is watered down. And pick up then from your clean water, you know, not everything has to be from the water your brush is getting really dirty. Okay. But you got the idea that I could continue, okay? I could continue building so many more of this. So many more of these swashes. It's gonna focus in a second. There you go. This almost looks green, but sorry, blue, but it's not blue, okay? It's green. Okay, you get the idea. You could fill the whole area down here with more. And then that's a reference that I can cut out and look for to replicate those possibilities, you know, to replicate those colors. Okay? You know what I mean? So now if we want with the blue, look what we could do with the blue. You take blue and then you do these little circles. That's darker. So I let it sit and then grab and spread it out. See how there's different tonalities of blue? And my water helps me spread the color. Keep them circle, keep them around the same size. Maybe one is behind the other. Okay. The more water, the lighter it becomes. Okay. Okay, we have a bunch of circles. Sorry if you weren't being able to see. I apologize for that. But you see how make a bunch of circles. Some of them are behind the others, darker, you know. See, I think this is enough. Maybe one back here between these guys, you know, maybe another one back here. Okay, and then now you take purple, and we wait for it to dry a little. Okay, our blues. We make them dry a little. It will focus in a second. There you go. See? So we take our purple, and now we're gonna make little stars in some little area of them, okay? Like, and not all of them will have it. Like this one may not have it. This one may have it here. And look, it's like this. See that? So basically, I'm doing this. Look, I'm doing an X, and then I add one more line, and that creates a star. I mean, kind of like a star. So, but what happens on the blue things we just created? If you do that, one, two, three, and it could be random. Not all of them again have to have it. This creates them as blueberries. You guys see it? Not all of them have to have it. So, and in some of them it sticks out. You know, that's an area in the blueberry that literally comes out. Now you got a bunch of blueberries. Remember, if we want to do highlights in watercolor, you have to think of them ahead of time so you can leave the paper be able to be seen through. Um, otherwise you'll have to use like an opaque type of color that can then be put on top of the watercolor, and since it's white, the pigment you use in acrylic or most likely acrylic, then it will stay on top because it's very opaque and it's a different, there's no water, it's just rich opaque color. So let's do now, and try to think of the way, I mean, in the plant, the way the leaves are in the blueberry are kind of like more round on the top and kind of like a drop, kind of like the petals we did first. So if I grab my green, the petals of a blueberry are kind of like this. Sorry, that brush is not good. They're shaped like this. Round and big at the top and narrow like this as it goes down. Kind of like the petals. So that's how the leaves of a blueberry are. So knowing now, I could do a few. I'm going to make them bigger. And again, we can do the whole um, line in the middle thing. So we take darker green, more pure green, and we draw a line right in the middle. Again, this is still wet, so it will take maybe a little while for it to be shown. It's all about building different tones and stuff, you know. I just wanted to be able to see all we've done, all we have. Okay, strawberries are shaped more like, with the red. Kind of like big and round on the top, and it narrows. But it's still round at the bottom, at the tip. But I spoke about the highlights because if you want to highlight the fruits, because they're fresh or light shines through them, you may want to think of those highlights before we start filling with color, so you could leave the paper go through. Um, this is going to be a strawberry. Again, I choose to add more red in some areas. Look at this. There's more red now in these areas. It doesn't have to be just one spot. It could be that there's red now over here too. I don't know. Or over here. Okay. And then with green, we could do it all in green. we do little spots that go down like this. And with green, very important, we'll do these things that stick out. The little crown the strawberry has. They're pointy at the top. And then they get this stem. Mm, you see? Now I feel I still need to add some red in some areas just to give this strawberry a little more circumference. Okay, by darkening that area more than the rest, it becomes a little much more sound and round. You know what I mean? Now a little darker, maybe with blue. I want to darken some areas here to emphasize this crown. You could use blue since blue is so, you see, darker than as a tone to emphasize some things you want to highlight. That's a strawberry. You know, there's a lot of things we can do. Just observe nature, you know. Look at this here. What is this gonna be? Maybe we'll end with this and I'll say something. But I'm gonna make with green these little circles. Not that dark. So if I don't want it that dark, I add some water and here's one, here's two right next to each other. Three, four, five, six. See? Six round peas that actually are not all the same green. You see there's different tonalities. Let it dry for a little bit. And I'm gonna do a few around, but those are lined up. You see how they're lined up? I'm gonna do a few that are spread around. So maybe there's one here that's really green. There's one here, another one here. Okay, this is dried enough to now do this. Grab your green again on the lineup, 6 or 7 of them, and look. I'm gonna go on top of this side, on top of them. On one side, I cover them. Now the other side will have darker green. Here we want darker green because we have to get, it has to be much darker. Maybe even add blue because green has blue, and adding blue to the green will make it even darker. But it has to be darker because it has to differentiate between that, what's behind this piece. This darker, you see? You understand? I'm going over the circumference of the piece that we did earlier. Making a line. You know, you get the idea. Now they're like in a canoe. They look enclosed because um, this darker is outlining the piece that we already did, um, and give them the sense that they are, yeah, the whole thing is green, but this is darker because it's behind. So now I go back to the normal green and make like a little stem here at this end. Maybe a couple leaves. And lighter green to kind of close this here. But it has to be lighter. See? Bunch of peas in their vein. And now I can take green, darker tones of green source, and give these guys a little more interesting spots. See? You can make seeds too. Maybe seeds that are light brown, dark brown. Look at all of these. I'm going to do them the same color to start with. Well, this one is darker. Now I add yellow to just a few of them. Maybe this one, you know, this one. Again, not all of them. See, a bunch of seeds. So we have some blueberries, lemons, oranges, slices, although I didn't do the orange, but we could do the orange very quickly to close up. Look, it's the same idea. You grab orange, kind of, if that's a lot of color, you see that? Then I'll grab just water. Because what the water will help me spread the color and make it less powerful, less, not powerful, rich. The pigment was too rich. I keep my circle going. I've been working with the same amount of orange from the beginning. Now I decide if I want to add more orange. This is very wet, so keep in mind that you're working on a very wet surface. But now I add more pure orange to maybe this side. See? Not everything, just maybe this side. And maybe a little bit over here and here. And now I get yellow, the color yellow. And I add yellow maybe here and here and here. You know, I'm not gonna put green here, but you could also put green and then with a little maybe darker orange um or start making dots as um the area is still wet. It doesn't have to be everywhere. And if an area is already very orange, you know, kind of dark, and these dots kind of camouflage because they're the same tone, then you could add a tiny little bit maybe of red. Same thing with the blueberries. We could, with the orange, kind of do a star here, and that represents, I'll make it a little darker. That represents the spot where the orange was connected to the tree, you know. And we got our self an orange there. Maybe make it a little more round. It's not that round. Ah, but you get the idea, and you can do a few of just the blueberries for a card, or just a painting about the blueberries, right? Or just a painting about some of the things we did here today. But it was exploring, exploring, exploring watercolors. It's good to clean this so when you mix your colors, they don't get mixed with other colors, and they get a little, they stay a little pure. Um, but this is the painting, and then we're going to. I'm gonna show you closer. I should do maybe another strawberry here. Um, yep. I'm adding more red to one side than the other. Maybe some splashes over here and there. Now I take my green, you know. The paper is wet. Just be aware your paper is wet. I do the leaves here. Sticking out. So the seeds of the strawberry, if you notice on this last one that I did, the last strawberry I did, the seeds on it um, kind of like blend in with the became thicker because the whole strawberry was still very wet. So when I put that color down, it went and sucked it in, and by sucking it in, it became thicker and more diffuse. You see that? You see what I just said? Maybe that's the effect you want on that strawberry. But this one has them a little more defined, the seeds. Those are the peas, some seeds down here, some color swatches to refer to. You could build this a lot more. You could create a lot of more different colors. Some leaves and orange slices. A lemon and an orange slice. As always with the video, you could always pause. Look at the blueberries. You could always pause and go back or pause it for a little while, like right now, and try to replicate that. Again, these are circles made out of blue. Some blues have more water than others, so they become lighter. Some blues are more richer with the pigment blue. And then we did that little star in purple that mixed with the blue, and we made sure that kind of sticked out. When that little thing star of dark purple went to the edge of one of them, you see it sticked out because that's exactly what happened with the blueberries. If it's to the edge, you're gonna show that it kind of pops up. Not all of them have to have it. This one doesn't have it because it may be on the other side that we cannot see. That's the idea. This won't have it entirely to the side. So just think like that. Think how in nature things are random and very organic. Okay? And then here we have the lemon again with yellow and orange. So you add different colors. Just the addition of colors just create more richness. And this is where we started, where we began, where I show you that you want to diversify your color by putting different tones, and you create those tones. Give me 1 second. There you go. You create these tones by adding more water or adding more pigment, depending if you want more pigment or more water. The water will make it lighter rather than painting something like this, which is all the same color and the same tone. No, we may want this over here. We want to diversify different tones. You see how this is more rich, these two petals, than the rest. And then we were doing some color swatches up here that end up being also down here. The same idea. So again, you could watch this video again, do the same exercise. I do recommend that you maybe in little watercolor squares or cards, you tackle one of these or a couple of these at a time and make little cards with that. This is very beautiful. The blueberries by themselves or the lemons, for example. All right. So I hope you enjoyed it. Take the time. It probably took you time to set up, to clean up, to look right now. What you have in front of you is going to look different than what I have. Yes, your things are going to be somewhere else. This was just exploring, so it's not going to look good. It's not going to look, sorry, exactly as I did it. So now, as I say goodbye, you take some time, 10 minutes up to 15 minutes to look at your work and fix what you think needs fixing, or add more color where you think needs more color, or the leaves, a little more of the outline of the leaves. Something that you're not happy with or is too dark, always you can always wet your brush with clean water, get the excess, have it wet, and then scoop what you don't like. So you could always scoop. um, so for example, this purple star right here, I have my brush, I wet it, not too much. Start wetting that area, and I start kind of scooping. You see? Not scooping, it's that the brush works as a sponge that absorbs, um, it absorbs what was there. And look, X is gone. So, I mean, that's an exaggerated example, but little areas you could fix like that too, okay? So you could always use water on a brush or a sponge or a tissue. Not too much water, to kind of work as a sponge and collect the dry paint that is there, or but you just got to be careful. Work yourself around your wishes. It's your work. Okay, so stay safe. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Um, the warm weather is coming, and yeah, I'll see you all very soon. Miss you.